Thank you so much, and very good morning to all of you on behalf of ETGovernment and the Economic Times. It's really an honor and pleasure to welcome all of you to this very important conference focused on renewable energy. And the first panel discussion has a very broad topic which primarily focus on innovation and investment to enable renewable energy integration in India's energy mix that we have. So if you broadly look at the current energy mix that India has, it's primarily dominated by coal and hydro. And both state government as well as the central government with a lot of different policies, the efforts are being made in order to ensure that the renewable energy portion should also start playing a bigger role. And if you look at some of the states that they are playing quite fantastic role in this, and even there are enabling policy by the central government. And so for the next 45 minutes and 1 hour, we'll try to discuss some of the challenges and opportunities that we see in this space, and especially from the financing perspective, from a green perspective, given the fact that climate change, the sustainable development has become really important, and India has committed to play a very important role in it. So maybe I'll just begin with Mr. Mohit Bhargava, CEO, NTPC Renewable Energies Limited. Sir, as I mentioned that the India's energy mix currently, if you look at, is primarily dominated by coal and hydro. And efforts are being made in order to have even the renewable sources playing a significant role in it. And we do see some of very good work happening in this space. Could you share based on your experience, given the fact that your organization works across all the state and in different geographies, what is your general assessment when you look at the growing trend of RE integration in overall energy mix that we have?
Good morning and thank you for having me. You've actually asked a very open-ended question, so I think all of us can pitch in and keep on saying different kind of things and probably will not be over till the end of the day. So yes, you're right. When we talk about the growth of RE in India, I think it's well documented, well established that India has been probably the leading economy globally in this sector. Quick numbers, if we touch upon, I think we have about 170 odd gigawatts of renewable capacity or non-fossil capacity. India set for itself a target of doing 500 gigawatts by 2030 and at least 50% coming from non-fossil capacity. So we've already crossed 40% in terms of that. As per the preliminary estimates which CA has done, the requirement in 2030 would be around 817 odd gigawatts, out of which almost 450 or something like that will be coming from RE or variable RE like solar, wind. So when we talk about the growth of renewables, yes, you're right, and I represent a company which straddles across the conventional power space as well as the RE space. So we feel that the growth of RE has been fantastic. The support and the framework which has been made by the government at the center, the governments at the states like Rajasthan government, has been phenomenal in terms of how it has grown across all the states. Rajasthan, of course, we know is probably one of the most well endowed in terms of the RE potential. And I think they framed a policy 3 years ago, if I remember correctly, and that I believe has been quite instrumental in terms of how RE has grown in the future. But obviously, I mean, this is just the beginning when we talk about the growth of RE, and we have a long way to go. But I think the crucial part is also how you have used the word RE integration in the session, and I think you've added solar, wind, storage, and green hydrogen. So as we grow RE, the role of storage in terms of how RE becomes mainstream across the sector, because even though today we have over 40% of capacity coming from non-fossil sources, the contribution of RE per se in terms of energy terms is probably around 10-12% only. So our aim is to ultimately become more and more user of RE sources, which would lead to overall growth of RE, and in a state where the country moves towards net zero in a decarbonized state. So that is the overall approach. When we talk about NTPC, and probably I'll take a minute, while we have over 71 gigawatts of installed capacity and we supply almost 25% of the country's power requirements, our footprint on the RE side is still quite small. But of course, we have large ambitions. So today, for example, we have about 3.2 gigawatts of operational capacity, and we have about 5 gigawatts under implementation. And we have in the pipeline another 8 gigawatts. Our target is to do 60 gigawatts by 2032. So specifically by 2032, we hope to have RE capacity which is almost equal in size to our coal-based capacity. So that's a broad ambition, but this is, I must say, this is a target which we'll probably review 2 years or 3 years down the line and maybe upscale it in all probability if we see that things are moving, getting traction much better than what they are today. So that's how NTPC is focused, and we are quite keen to move in all areas. So we have recently concluded the largest storage tender in the country, and because we feel that is important in terms of how we can convert round-the-clock supply or peak power supply to the consumers, and this is a shift we are seeing more and more. So all this is happening. So we are also entering into the green hydrogen space. We recently commissioned a pilot in which we are blending green hydrogen to natural gas. So the gamut of what we are trying to do is huge, and which I believe a lot of my peers sitting on the stage are also doing quite well on. So it's an effort which everyone has to put in. There's opportunity for everyone here. The numbers are huge, and let's see how we can keep growing. We expect all support from the government of Rajasthan. I can see Mr. Dhaka sitting here. So we'll need a lot of support from him and his team and the entire government of Rajasthan to move forward quickly. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Absolutely. You mentioned about the round-the-clock power, which is the Renewable Energy Ministry has a draft policy on it. And Mr. Mittal, I'll come to you. In addition to the round-the-clock power focus that the central government has, there is also, a focus on, power for all. And we do see that efforts by other states also. For example, if you look at Rajasthan, there are multiple supportive policy in order to support renewable energy sources within the state, and same is the case with multiple other states. But one of the challenges that we notice, actually there is a lot of heterogeneity in terms of what is being proposed by central government and what is being offered in different state government. And given the fact that, even in our energy security basket, and green has to become a very important component, as to how do you look at this heterogeneity in terms of the financing, in terms of our understanding of the, the green sources, also the kind of subsidies that we are providing. In some of the cases, one of the state might be very conducive for one particular item, and that not be the case with, other state. And that create a lot of, at times, not very supportive and not very, a transparent system.
So you have given me a tough question. So my personal view on this is that we are one country, we have one taxation, we have one grade, and we should have uniform policies in the common sector like road, electricity and infrastructure. And I very strongly believe that every citizen in the country deserves power on demand on every day of their life, and power is inversely proportional to poverty. And if you have to bring out the last 20% out of poverty and bring them to the mainstream, power is the vital force. And the challenge today is that when it comes to the power sector per se, like GST, there is no uniformity in the policy. And every state looks it from their own perspective, then looking it from the country's interest. See, today we are at the cusp where we have the opportunity to turn this energy challenge into energy blessing. So what I mean by that is that country has abundance of the space available in deserts of Rajasthan, Gujarat, parts of Tamil Nadu, parts of Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and they are all national resources, and they have either abundance of solar, abundance of wind, and based on the scientific study of wind and solar zone and pumped hydro zone, there should be a uniform policy. Because today, if we don't generate on our own, someone else will provide us that. So for us, the biggest challenge as a nation is our current account deficit and fiscal deficit. And current account deficit largely is dependent on our dependence on other nations to supply us oil and gas. And the more we import, the more we grow as an economy, the more weaker our currency is becoming, because we are importing more and exporting less. So why should we import something which we can produce locally? And we are blessed with sun, we are blessed with hydro potential, we are blessed with nuclear, we are blessed with wind. Why are we not optimizing it? And why are we not looking at becoming a manufacturing hub for the world and be a biggest supplier source? Primary reason is that our electricity market, unlike Western world, where industry gets the cheapest source of energy, here industry is loaded with every kind of cross subsidy. And that is why our energy becomes very expensive. Like look at the case of Rajasthan. Rajasthan, when gigawatt comes, 300 crore they are getting at a part of their SGST contribution. They don't value that. What they are trying to do is charge 3 lakhs rupees or 4 lakhs rupees in 3 years from now as a sin tax to set up a solar or wind plants here. So what people are going to do at that point of time, they will go to the other states where there is no renewable development charges of per megawatt of this quantum, because eventually the businesses have to pass on this to tariff to the consumers or to the buyers. And if we were looking at it from the national perspective, we will never try to make the policy which is not solving for the energy security or energy crisis. See, Rajasthan fortunately is blessed with both solar and wind, and there are at least 10 locations for the pumped hydro. Why are we not trying to become energy hub for the country and solve it in that way? And when you create that, you will attract the ecosystem for the supply chain ecosystem, for the manufacturing, and probably use the low-cost energy to supply to the industrial zone. So even though it's not a port-based state, it's a landlocked state, but that could become a blessing because you have the lowest cost of energy. So I think what is needed is eventually a similar structure to the GST Council, where there is a power council where states have a voice and center is chairing it, and making a uniform policy using the whole nation as one, and making the policy which can make India energy independent in true sense, where green hydrogen, green ammonia, green methanol can become substitute to oil, gases, and we can completely eliminate, say, coal import or reduce oil and gas import by 0.5%. Your currency will strengthen, your economy will improve, your manufacturing will become more viable, and we will be the force to reckon with. Unless we solve this at a national level, I think states in silo will not do justice. They will just do it what is right for their particular province, not for the nation.
Absolutely. Mr. Parag Sharma, a couple of points that Mr. Mittal raised, especially on the uniformity part, which is really important. Also, you know, when you are investing in the RE infrastructure, there could be some of the barrier from a perspective, despite the fact it's a green sources and there are a lot of international funds which will be very interested putting in money, but there are some other various other challenges in terms of the kind of ecosystem that we have been able to create, despite the fact that we have the installed capacity, but as to how much is being consumed by the end user altogether. Could you also share, based on your experience, especially from the investment perspective, from a barrier perspective, and also the kind of opportunity that you see in a state like Rajasthan, given the fact that the state has almost, I believe, 3-4 a specific policy which is targeting the energy security part of this?
Well, you rightly mentioned about how one should estimate the amount of opportunity coming up in Rajasthan. So if we look back and see what RE is worldwide, so last year, 2022, 88% of the entire incremental capacity added worldwide has come from RE. If you look at IEA report recently, they say that whatever capacity addition RE has done in the last 20 years, which is somewhere around 2,400 gigawatts, the same will be done in the next 5 years. So that's the kind of growth RE is going to have on the worldwide basis. The same IEA report also says that by 2025, renewables will overtake coal-based power plant as the largest sources of generation worldwide. So in this background, where globally RE is going to become the sector within generation, India is the leader. So whatever repercussions are going to have on this entire growth of RE worldwide will have far more repercussions in India, because India is talking about a very steep target. We are saying that today we are just 12% of the entire energy, RE as an industry. We want to be 50% of the entire energy by 2030. So it's as steep, moving from 12% to 50% within the next 8 years. And within India, we all know that Rajasthan is the one which is leading this whole charge of RE. Rajasthan has 20 gigawatt plus of installed capacity, and if we talk to any solar IPP in India, everybody is talking about Rajasthan being their main state of focus. So in this environment, obviously Rajasthan has to prepare itself in terms of infrastructure, in terms of evacuation, and so on and so forth. But let me tell you a couple of things which are not there in Rajasthan. One is the C&I sector. It has completely been missing in Rajasthan. There is no policy of letting the C&I industry buy power from renewable, looking at a typical structure which India follows, which is 26% equity in a captive model. So hardly any C&I client in India can buy renewables, in Rajasthan can buy renewable power through the C&I route. The other things which are missing here is a lot can happen on the green hydrogen side. So in general, if you see by now, not only Rajasthan, India has been focusing only on one sector in renewables, which is utility. If we have to reach to 500 gigawatt, 50% of our power from renewables, we need to develop the other two sectors, which is C&I and the green hydrogen. So a lot needs to be done in Rajasthan on these two segments.
Right. Mr. Kashyap, Mr. Sharma mentioned a couple of things, especially related to Rajasthan, especially on the opportunities part and also some of the challenges. And I think we have fairly covered in terms of some of the opportunity that we see in the state. Very important thing, a word he used, the preparation for a state when there is an opportunity, as to how you are going to set up an entire ecosystem which should be supporting of that environment. Would you like to share your views, especially based on your experience from opportunities as well as challenges, and the kind of preparation the state like Rajasthan, which has a huge potential in RE space, could be making down the line?
Thank you so much. So just to give you some perspective on the numbers we are talking about, as we know, we are running one of the largest programs to do 500 gigawatt by 2030 and a reduction of 45% of carbon emissions against 2005 levels by 2030. So that addition of 350 gigawatt over and above what we have today would entail an investment of to the extent of 17.5 lakh crores for the power sector through RE. That is one. The second point which I wanted to make was, which has been made as well, that there is a large opportunity which is coming out of green hydrogen and its derivatives, not only from India, but across the world, where India can play a major role being an exporter of green hydrogen and its derivatives. Now, when we look at that market, it has got 3-4 dimensions in terms of, potential. The first, which is the existing market, it's a gray ammonia market, and typical size is today around 180 million metric ton, which is being traded globally annually. And an investment on a 1 million metric ton kind of a facility is to the extent of $5 to $6 billion US. So you can imagine the kind of investment which is required even to replace the gray ammonia market globally. And then there are 2 more markets which are emerging. The second market is the power market, wherein Japan has already started co-firing green ammonia, or to say ammonia, with thermal power plants, and they plan to do it to the extent of 80%. And at that time, they will be qualified under a low carbon emission category, so to say. So island countries where it is not possible to put renewables, they would want to go that way to reduce their carbon emissions because they have committed to net zero. And the third, which is a very large potential area, is the shipping industry, wherein today we consume around 1 billion metric ton of bunker oil in the shipping sector, and which is equivalent to almost 2 billion metric ton of green ammonia. So if we see the kind of opportunity we have globally on account of green hydrogen derivatives, green methanol and ammonia, it runs into trillions of dollars, right? The third, which is again a very large program which India is running, is to gear up in terms of getting ready for this 500 gigawatt of integration. It's almost 1.24 trillion kind of an opportunity in terms of investments in India. So if we see, the kind of investments which are there, it runs into trillions of dollars. Now, as Mr. Mittal said, stability in the policy will actually help, international investors to come and join us over here. Even the lenders, they will give us a lot of confidence that yes, these projects will see the light of the day. So this is very important. In terms of Rajasthan, if you see, Rajasthan is one of the best possible locations in terms of RE, both wind and solar today. And but one of the challenges specific to green hydrogen derivatives is it is not near to the port. It also gives an opportunity for Rajasthan to even plan for a pipeline till the port for green ammonia and create a large hub of green hydrogen derivative within the Rajasthan region. And that will make the whole opportunity size much larger compared to as-is condition where we are sitting. So these are some of the numbers I thought I'll share and the recommendations which I wanted to share. Thank you.
Right. So before I go to Mr. Sampath, I'm taking the view of Mr. Bajpai, especially from what Mr. Kashyap spoke about on the investing part. And I think there actually the role of the banks becomes really important. And also as to how and what level of financing are you doing? Because energy, especially the renewable, is new, and you could have a different install base altogether. There could be something very small on the rooftop that also require financing, as well as there could be a huge project, multi-million dollar, and that also require financing. And both of you being from Indian nationalized banks, so there is a lot of element of Indianness into it, because when the foreign fund comes, there are a lot of if and buts. They need standardization as uniformity, as Mr. Kashyap spoke about. So before I take your view, Mr. Sampath, I would like to have Mr. Bajpai's views, especially on the investment part, and if you could also share from a Punjab National Bank perspective as to how you look at it.
Thank you, Ujale ji. Or I thankful to Rajasthan government and RREC for giving an opportunity to Punjab National Bank sharing the dais. As far as renewable energy is concerned, so there are various projects where bank has recently launched green infrastructure development in the RE space. because any project, whatever, cannot be succeeded without the help of banking sector. So Punjab National Bank has also started so many initiatives like solar power systems under home loan scheme to individuals and joint owners, PM Kusum योजना के जो हमारी एक स्कीम है जिसके अंतर्गत हम किसान ऊर्जा सुरक्षा एवं उत्थान महाअभियान के रूप में हम उसमें पीएनबी उसमें काम कर रही है, जिसमें हम 10,000 मेगावाट ऑफ डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड ग्राउंड ऑब्लिक स्टिल्ट माउंटेड ग्रिड कनेक्टेड सोलर ऑफ अदर रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी बेस्ड पावर प्लांट हम उसमें स्टेब्लिश कर रहे हैं. लाइकवाइज हम उसमें टर्म लोन भी दे रहे हैं, need based setting up of solar power plants, procuring necessary gadgets of individual farmers, group of farmers. स्टैंड पे हम उसको मार्जिन भी दे रहे हैं 30% पे बैंक गाइडलाइंस में. इसमें 17.50 लाख स्टैंड अलोन सोलर एग्रीकल्चर पंप्स के लिए भी हम फाइनेंस कर रहे हैं. इसके अलावा भी पीएनबी अफोर्डेबल ग्रीन फाइनेंस को एमएसएमईज ऑन द कंट्रीज कमिटमेंट ऑन बीइंग ए कार्बन न्यूट्रल नेशन में व्हाट वी आर डूइंग, financing of windmills. That is a very important source as far as Rajasthan is concerned, जहाँ is a very sun shining state. तो वहाँ पे भी हम undertaking by the industry in other sectors, वहाँ भी हम within 6 एक fast एक power project जो हम short gestation period में लेके चलते हैं, within 6 to 9 months में हम low development में हम काम करें, उसमें भी हम term loan वगैरह उसमें उनको afford करते हैं. Likewise हम सोलर पावर के लिए भी हम फाइनेंस कर रहे हैं, उसमें भी हमारी स्कीम्स हैं जिसमें हम इंडिया इज अ सिग्निफिकेंट अमाउंट ऑफ लैंड एरियाज दैट इज राजस्थान गेट गुड सनशाइन ड्यूरिंग द मेजर पार्ट ऑफ द ईयर. सो वहाँ पे भी हम नीड बेस्ड फैसिलिटी हम उनको प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं कि हाइब्रिड प्लांट्स जिसको हम प्रेफरेंस दें, और उसमें भी हम कंबाइनिंग बोथ सोलर एंड विंड एनर्जी को हम लेके चल रहे हैं. कैप्टिव यूनिट्स में हम मिनिमम 25% हम मार्जिन लेके चलते हैं, रिपेमेंट 10 to 15 ईयर्स का है, हॉलीडे उसमें भी है. इसके अलावा बायोगैस यूनिट्स को भी हम सेटिंग अप करने के लिए भी हम उसमें हम पंजाब नेशनल बैंक इज एक्सटेंडिंग देयर कोऑपरेशन. सो इसमें अभी हमने रिसेंटली एक स्कीम में हमने मिसेस काइनेटिक ग्रीन एनर्जी एंड पावर सोल्यूशन लिमिटेड के साथ भी हमने एक MOU किया कि जो भी वो मैन्युफैक्चर करेंगे उसे बैंक उनके प्रोडक्ट्स को उनके MOU के आधार पर फाइनेंस करेगी. इसी प्रकार से हमने 5-6 MOUs किए हुए हैं जिसमें फ्यूजियामा पावर सिस्टम्स, ओकरिच एनर्जी प्राइवेट लिमिटेड, सोलरियन सोलर पावर सिस्टम, टाटा पावर सोलर सिस्टम, यूनाइटेड टेलीकॉम सिस्टम. इस तरीके से वी आर मेकिंग सम MOUs टू प्रमोट दिस ग्रीन एनर्जी एंड फाइनेंसिंग देम टू मेक मोर कंट्रीब्यूशन in this area.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you very eloquently put the kind of work that Punjab National Bank is doing in order to finance and some of the MOU that you have signed so far. Mr. Sampath, I'll come to you, and I would like you to focus on, in addition to what SBI has been doing, SBI also has a very broader view of the direction, the trajectory that one particular market is focusing on, from a very small finance to a bigger finance. So could you give your views from, a zigzag trajectory perspective, especially when it comes to the financing of the renewable energy infrastructure in the country?
The Economist in one of the recent articles said that 1.50 degrees Celsius, if things continue, a wonderful island like Maldives, we may not have it at all in a couple of years. That is quite scary. So now it is the time for all of us to act, to put together, to get into some serious business. And the same article was also telling about the initiatives taken by India. And it says India is a sun-drenched country. So nature has sort of, gifted us with this, feature. Should all of us not use it and get into it seriously? Manufacturing as well as services depends more on power, and particularly in manufacturing, any sector, steel, cement, sugar, textiles, power cost becomes a very key thing. And power cost can throw the numbers haywire, the EBITDA margins can be thrown away. So way back in 2004, when one of our customers approached us in Coimbatore for putting up a windmill for 24 crores, I vividly remember the number, maybe 1.1 megawatt or something like that. So that was a very big loan. Our average loan size was 5 crores in that mid-corporate branch. So we were scared. But my technical team did a thorough analysis and we found that it's worth the money. So we sanctioned the loan and the original payback was something like 7 years. They repaid in 3.5 years. So thereafter, the windmill story had been great for us. Of course, we had hiccups like grid connectivity and issues like that. But it had been a great story. Then we moved to solar. But still, what I find is that serious effort or serious management concentration on this aspect is not present in many of the units, by small, medium, large, all of them. So we have a solution for everybody. If it is a SME unit, up to 1 crore of rooftop solar, I have created a special branch. My bank has created a special branch called Surya Shakti branch, where only guys who do this solar are sitting there, a dozen guys, and they turn around, the sanctions in a very fast way. For that, we have tied up with all the majors who are in the space. Likewise, we have a big line of credit from World Bank for grid-connected rooftop. There also, we are very keen that units come and get into this space and avail this one. So it should be no longer a sort of symposium discussion. Everybody should get into this one. Even for a small unit, if they are sort of replacing their ordinary bulbs with energy efficient bulbs, we can help them out. And we are always there as one of the largest power lender in wind space and solar and everything. There are emerging areas. Compressed biogas is one area where the terms are very good. Then ethanol blending is another area where good traction is happening, but it is said to gallop. Then I wouldn't ignore electric vehicle in this space, which is also growing at a very good pace. We are again offering soft terms. In all these cases, my terms are soft, the debt equity is lower, because we go by the premise that the major industry, which is the captive, or it can be, you sell it out, major industry in which the industrialist is there is going to benefit in terms of better economics. So we are all there, we want to be a part of this story. And this is the time for us to move forward. If we miss it now, it's going to be difficult for us.
Absolutely. I think the word that you use, the better economics, is really important given the fact that the size of the country and the kind of requirement in energy mix that we have, it has to be affordable, it has to be sustainable, and there the cost becomes really important. And for that, I'll go to Mr. Bhargava. There actually, the cost reduction and making something affordable for a large set of people, even for industry, is very important. And there the role of technology becomes important because it gives you visibility across your infrastructure, and then you are some way able to optimize it with the help of integrated platform. So far we have been talking about integration of RE per se in overall energy mix. Now I would like you to focus on integration of the internal system within the RE to the main grid or to the end user and consumer, and having a greater visibility across all the supply chain and points, and that ultimately reducing some of the cost factor which translating into the benefit for the end user. Could you share your views as to how do you see a utilization of technology, different platform in this space to do so?
Again, I think it's a very open-ended question. Technology is, you're right, it's integral. So whatever we do today in today's context, I mean, if you're talking about how power is generated from, and I would say why RE? I mean, the way we produce power, the integration of that power or the supply of that power and the oversight on how that electron flows from a generator to an end consumer is today very robustly built, and there are umpteen level of technologies which look at that. What definitely I would like to touch upon more from RE perspective is that RE is an intermittent source of power. So which is why the role of the grid operator becomes much more important in terms of supplying power, because when a user, when someone sitting at home draws power, that gentleman is not aware of where the power is coming from, but it is the role of the grid operator and the distribution companies and the transmission companies to ensure that, as I think someone mentioned, power on tap. So whenever a person switches on a fan or a light, power has to flow. So there again the role of technology to ensure that this happens. What is more relevant in our case now is that as more and more RE increases into the grid, the need for ensuring that always there is power available on tap, because we are talking about integration in a larger sense. That RE is intermittent, so we have to ensure that when RE drops off, for example, when solar drops off during the day, other sources need to ramp up in exactly the same proportion as is required by the consumer, and which is where the role of integration per se and options for integration, that is where I think technology is becoming very important. Because when solar is dropping off, we need to have balancing power or a power which can ramp up very quickly. Globally, gas has been used as a fuel which can step in quickly, because the ramp up rate with a gas turbine is much higher, can easily match the requirements of the RE integration. In India, we do not have access to gas, or cheap gas if I may say so. We do have access to coal, and which is why technologically, for example, NTPC as well as all other generators of coal-based power have been working to ensure that the ramp rates requirements which are specified by CA are adhered to. CA recently came out with regulations saying that the load of a coal-based plant can actually go down to 40% and ramp rate of 3% needs to be built in. Otherwise, we might face a situation that RE is going off and the power which is required is not coming online. So that is technologically possible today. It requires some capex, which obviously has to be put in place. So technologically, there are solutions. The other part of the solution, of course, is purely from the management of the supply of RE power into the grid, which we refer to as the deviation settlement. There again, the role of technology becomes very important, and the role of forecasting becomes very important. So technology is the key. But I'll probably take a minute here to also talk about the broad thing. I think both Mr. Mittal and Parag also discuss upon that what are the opportunities that I think Sandeep also mentioned. So opportunities are huge. So if the states continue to charge levies or taxes which are state specific, so for example, Rajasthan charges the RREDF. So my suggestion is simple, and the window for Rajasthan to secure investment is maybe 2 years now. Because as per the current announcement, the central government has said that at the end of June 2025, the ISTS waiver will go away. Then I don't think anyone will look at Rajasthan, because the cost of, if you add the cost of transmission, so the window of opportunity for Rajasthan is 2 years. So if they keep on loading whatever taxes they want to load for export of power, they'll probably keep on losing the business. Because after 2025, people won't look at Rajasthan alone. Transmission cost today is of the order of 50 paisa to 1 rupee. So if I have to supply power to Bihar, for example, they think it's better to set up in Bihar or in some other states. So technologically or economically, it becomes a choice, and I think one of the terms used was affordability. I'll add competitiveness for the industry. I think, so all these things become important. Today everyone is rushing to Rajasthan because they have the maximum resources, maximum potential, and we feel that we are able to supply the most affordable power, RE power from Rajasthan. This advantage is slipping away gradually. And this is not Rajasthan alone. there are a couple of other states also who have introduced, because they feel that their resources need to be, somehow leveraged in terms of monetizing. So there has to be balance as to how that can happen. So my request or suggestion to all these states is, which is why I slightly differ from a point made by the other panelists. I think states have to, in a way, not only be uniform, but have to compete to seek investment.
Right.
They need to, which state offers me the best or gives me the best offer in terms of investment. Probably all of us will go there, and which is what all of us do. We are jokingly talking that
Right.
we are, kind of assemble in most of these
Right.
state things. We are all there, 4, 5 of us sitting there and talking these kind of things. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Mittal, your views on 2 points, especially what Mr. Bhargava spoke about. But the state also have a challenge actually, because if you look at the pharma policy, there was one state which has huge incentives. Everybody went there and they had a sunshine period, and that was when it was ending. So then we noticed that, the other state has a similar policies. Even the companies from there started moving to that particular places. So even state has some sunshine role, as to how it could integrate in the main ecosystem on a general, price level. You can't have, incentive expectation throughout your journey altogether. So maybe as to how the state can balance it, and how even the expectation of the industry could be balanced in a broader sense. Number one. Second, I would like you to focus on the technology part, which is basically to make yourself smart, it has to be a data-driven governance. We see in the governance panel also, and that applies to the enterprise and utility sector. So from your generation to the consumption, there are a lot of, points, and if you have a visibility across those points, it's always really helpful and good. Basically, data-driven governance helps you in terms of managing your affairs. So maybe your views on these 2 points.
So actually, states have to become more and more competitive by creating a true sense of ease of doing business. See, today, you can't win the battle just based on the incentive. There are states which I won't touch from Bajaj's pool, even if they are giving us 100% capital subsidy, because there are other forms of barrier to succeed there. So what an entrepreneur or a capital provider is looking for: stable policy regime, consistency in the policy, and true sense of ease of business, where state considers that if someone is a partner in PPP, he's a true partner, and his problem are state's problem as well, to set the industry to succeed, not because if some external factors have changed, you start punishing the business owner. And the states which have demonstrated that behavior have attracted a lot more investment. We have Western India, which you can say probably benefited from being near to the sea and port-based infrastructure. But one of the biggest differentiator was around ease of doing business and having the mindset that job creation is one of the primary responsibility of any government, and if someone who augments government's capability on the same should be rewarded, should not be punished. So I think states can differentiate on the basis of that. On top of that, states should look at from the angle of how do they enable other industries to succeed in their states. So energy is common across the sector. So I think what Rajasthan today have an opportunity to create like hydrogen hub, energy hub for the whole country, and even become a manufacturing hub. Because if you say give 15 years 3 rupees fixed price, why should an industry, if hybrid power is coming at 3 rupees 10 paisa to the state, why should an industry pay $7? It makes no sense. Where is this inefficiency getting built up? So states have, someone has to look at holistically from the day they are making policy, not because of the past baggage. There may have many limitations in the past, but that should not become the driving factor. And when you come to the technology, I think technology is a great equalizer. Today, if you have a time of day metering and everyone who's using power is metered, and simple things like why would I put my freezer or pump on when electricity cost is most expensive? And you are looking towards the future where everyone's car probably would be replaced by the electric vehicle. There will be other automated devices. Earlier, while I was growing up, we didn't had even probably 1 or 2 electrical or electronics devices. Now everyone has 3. Someone has iPad, iPhones, as well as laptop. All of those are charging. They will go towards the lean period. So there is, if you use machine learning, IoT, and digitize your grid, you can optimize the energy cost to a large level, as well as consumer costs you can reduce. I think today the biggest problem I see in India, there are states which are not even billing 20% of their consumers. They are just sending them quarterly 700 rupees bill. Like that should be stopped using technology immediately. Why can't we have prepaid meters? Why can't we have direct benefit transfer to the needies? Why should we let those things not be done as of yesterday? I think technology exists. There is delay in using technology to successfully solve the governance problem, as well as lot of these theft losses or billing losses which is happening in the country. All of those will go away, and then we can go into the smart grid, smart metering and everything else. I think we would probably be the better, because India is full with the IT talent. Probably we are solving the energy crisis of the Europe, sitting in our AI labs and data centers and machine learning environment, and same talent pool can be used to solve the India's issues, but we are not able to access it. And that is what is needed.
Absolutely, I think you are absolutely right, especially the kind of India, the technology prowess that we have. If you look at the top multinational companies, especially in the technology space, they would have, their second largest research center after their home country, mostly in Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Pune, in India itself. Now, Mr. Sharma, I'll come to you. And he said very important thing, especially around the true sense of an ecosystem. And for also a state, it's a journey actually, in terms of defining the kind of incentive it should offer, the kind of ecosystem it should be generating. And initially, you might not have the kind of visibility that you have. You might have a support from Big Four telling you should be doing this and that. So what should be for a state like Rajasthan, which many of you have spoken that there is a lot of plus right now. And because of that, the huge attraction toward the state. And there are some of the challenges that you mentioned about the levy and other things, and that has to be streamlined. And then in a broader level, the India by 2025 is going to more open and liberal in terms of the energy mix that we have, and RE, other state will come into play, as Mr. Bhargava says, that maybe the other state will become more attracting, and there could be, shuffling of things from here and there. So how do you create a true sense of an ecosystem? Because as Mr. Mittal said, it's not all about incentive what you are offering. It's also about the ecosystem that you have. And that could be supportive policy, that could be, ease of doing business. Those could be, the financial things, your technology parameter, as to the kind of HR resources that you have, the capacity building, all those things together.
Right. No, so as everybody rightly said, gone are the days when in our sector, there used to be only one thing called feed-in tariffs, on the basis of which investments used to happen. Some year, Maharashtra announced a great feed-in tariff and everybody rushed there. Next year, MP announced. So now we are in the regime of tariff-based competitive bidding, and lot more rather than just the announcement of feed-in tariffs is required to attract investment. Coming to your specific question on what Rajasthan can do. So I believe one thing which we are really missing on ground is a very foolproof IT system which can handle the amount of land acquisition which is happening in Rajasthan on ground. The whole staffing of people in the Tehsildar offices and all are not really up to the mark which can handle so many registrations which are happening on ground. So on the land piece, a lot needs to be done. The second thing which I mentioned in the beginning, that C&I is one sector which is still not triggered in Rajasthan. I think normally the states are afraid of losing the creamy layer of customers, but I personally believe that if you have your wheeling and banking charges to a certain level, which ensures that distribution licensee doesn't lose, and then allow C&I clients to buy power directly from generators, that might be a win-win from both the sides. The third thing that Sandeep mentioned, maybe a pipeline which solves the problem for green hydrogen in Rajasthan, connecting Rajasthan to a nearby offshore state. So these are a couple of things which comes to my mind, but the list can be further explained.
So we still have 5 minutes, maybe, so I'll request 3 of you are here, so possibly could take 1.5 minutes each. Would you like to add to what Mr. Sharma mentioned, especially around possibly some of the things that Rajasthan could actually add up to make whatever the ecosystem that it has right now to make it more attractive?
So I'll touch upon 2 things. One of the largest or the biggest challenge for projects, especially the green ammonia and green hydrogen projects and large-scale solar projects, is land. And Rajasthan has abundance of land, both private as well as government. If hydrogen hubs can be planned, or so the land issues can be resolved, where state can help the investor. You would have seen whenever we used to have a bid in a solar park, where the investor or the developer has to come in and just develop the project, you would see the competitiveness on the tariff is much better, because the risks on the projects are much lower in terms of land acquisition. The second point I want to touch upon was, imagine a situation wherein we're talking about achieving net zero, and there are multinational organizations or organizations within India or even exporters from India who have to reduce their carbon footprint, but you are as a state not having any policy wherein the consumer can buy from a generator, green energy. What choices he has? If he's not able to buy, probably he'll move from the state. And therefore, it is actually, creating a scenario wherein industry will see in which state I'll set up and I have these options to achieve net zero. All the major groups are working on net zero by starting from 2030, 2035 or so. So I think it is very important for Rajasthan to really see and encourage companies who would want to reduce their carbon footprint by way of either creating a policy, they can buy power from generators, or they can directly give it to them. But there has to be a solution around that. Thank you.
Mr. Sampath, so far we have spoken in detail, I believe, about the general ecosystem that we have, the challenges that we face, also the opportunities in the Rajasthan. And you and Mr. Bajpayee mentioned about the financing opportunity and some of the things that the banks like SBI and Punjab National Bank have been doing. I would want you to focus on, especially because these days we feel the kind of steroid in any industry that the startup brings, the SME brings, the young startups actually, the agility and scalability brings into any ecosystem. And that actually gives a kind of boost to the traditional organization altogether. So when you look at the financing pattern, the request for financing in RE space, what is the general assessment of the startup or a smaller companies coming up with an innovative project in this space that you look at? If you could share.
Yeah. 2 points I would like to make. ESG as a big G. So for any entrepreneur, G is very important. I should not get into a project just because of, some sort of SOPs, some subsidy or capital subsidy or interest subvention or like that. And I should do my part of it. That would only make the project viable. Then on the question of startup, we have a general policy on startup. It's a very path-breaking policy where we support a lot of startup, and there is a credit guarantee cover which has been announced by the government. And this includes power sector. I would say that more on the EV side, battery manufacturing or battery, making batteries in a cost-effective way, we see a lot of activity there. So we should have a system, ecosystem where which should develop that, which we have made a start. We need to galvanize that one. And at the same time, we should look at every roof above the spinning mill or, the sugar plant. Why shouldn't every roof be covered with a solar panel so that my solar cost reduces? Again, if I do an ethanol blending, if I do a CPG, I'm saving in foreign exchange. So, which is very, very important for the country. So, in this process, what we are doing is that we are saving our cost, we are protecting our jobs, which is very, very important. And SMEs can do a big job here, big work here. A lot of awareness needs to be created. This is one of the initiatives. This awareness will make people think and look at it, look at the economics, and invest some time and money on that. And ultimately, it will leave a better planet for the future generation. People will be able to breathe freely, and the carbon emission will be under a controllable level so that the health and well-being of the people are protected. And SBI is there in every sphere of this. We are there to help you out, and any one of you can reach us, and we will support you.
No, you are absolutely right, especially on the point of awareness. And you could have awareness about the best practices in terms of the energy utilization, consumption, and how to manage. And also from the perspective that there are a lot of policy support that the government of India has, and many of us, many young entrepreneurs are not aware about it. And there actually the banks plays very important role. Mr. Bajpai, last word to you, if you like to share something, especially from a PNB perspective on awareness, on the role that you see, anything that you like to share.
थैंक यू सर. अगेन मैं एक बात यही कहूँगा कि रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी और ये ग्रीन एनर्जी इसी का फ्यूचर वी आर लुकिंग फॉर, एंड बैंक्स आर देयर टू सपोर्ट एनी इनिशिएटिव. तो राइटली आवर लास्ट स्पीकर हैज rightly said that first of person, startups, new entrepreneurs, how they come in this field and how the state governments provide them proper infrastructure, proper incentive, because any new activity could not take good yield results unless it is provided some incentives, like in land, in taxation, etc. Whereas bank is concerned, bank has devised so many good schemes on renewable energy and solar power and green energy, and they will make more good schemes for to help the new entrepreneurs and make this sector more lively in coming years. So bank has two ways. In MSME segment, they are helping, and in corporate, if the project is large, so there can be cater the needs of the entrepreneurs. So we are here. Bank, Punjab National Bank is very much front far forward in taking initiatives in this regard.
Right. I think we have completely exhausted our time. I think you all have been a great panelist and you shared your views, especially we have started with the general assessment of the RE segment, also the kind of barriers we have in terms of the investment, and also some of the opportunities that we see in the state of Rajasthan, and some of the things that state of Rajasthan should be doing in terms of adding up in its ecosystem, making it more attractive and keep it attractive for long time. And also very important, we focus on the role of technology in terms of driving the cost down, also having a data-driven model in terms of managing our utility infrastructure. So once again, thank you so much for being such a wonderful panelist and sharing your views. Thank you so much.